Hi, this is Wes,
This is Ka'shenia,
and we would like to welcome you to the
the
Underground Geek
Underground
Shack.
Geek Shack. I almost said video game edition. This is
I,
not a
I
video game.
I don't blame you. I almost said the video game edition too, because I've been doing some video games myself, and those might be coming to the channel. Who knows? I've been playing a little bit of Sifu here and there. But
Definitely, I would
yeah,
love to see that.
yeah, that's gonna be an interesting playthrough if you guys ever wanna check that out. Also, well, before we even start, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I usually put that toward the end of all of our videos. I'm doing something different today. But
Yep,
if you can't tell by the shirt that I am wearing
the
and what
glorious shirt.
and what we're going to be talking about today, you know what? Hey, do you want to know something?
What was?
The Great Pirate Era has begun.
It has. Definitely for us. I feel like this has been a long time coming, especially since we call ourselves, anime fans. It's only, the rite of passage for us to finally try to sit down and watch the great, the wonderful One Piece.
The one that has eluded us for so long due to how many episodes it's been, like what, 1,000 episodes already, and we're
Uh,
like, nah. At first we were like, nah, we ain't doing it, fam. We good,
I was like, that's a bit of a commitment. I don't know if I can do it. And then out of the blue, I was just like, hey Wes, I'm gonna start watching One Piece. You're like, oh cool. And then because I think when I told you, you was like, I'm reading One Piece. I'm going to watch it while I read it. And I was like, all right, cool, interesting. Let me know how that goes. And I mean, okay, Wes is a lot further than me. I'm only on like episode 60. I'm starting episode 64.
Mhm.
Wes, what grand episode are you on right now? As of what day is it? February
23rd.
23, 23,
Um,
2025.
so let me pull up Crunchyroll real quick. Mind you, I'm not watching this on Crunchyroll. I'm watching this on Netflix.
I'm bouncing back between Netflix and Crunchyroll myself.
So I'm on 533,
533 as
which
compared to my
means
episode 64.
which means for those of you who don't know what episode 533 is, it's Fishman Island. Just for to be clear. So no one's like, you didn't tell us what episode that is. So it's Fishman Island
Wait,
compared
wait,
to
so
what episode were you on?
I'm on 64.
So
I
she's
just
she's
I
just
just
now
finished reading.
starting she's just now starting the Alabasta arc. So
In his words,
or
for me,
what
I just met Laboon or Laboon.
Laboon, yeah.
Laboon. Oh yeah, so the funky thing that I'm doing with this is because sometimes work can be a little bit slow. So I watch One Piece a little bit at work, but in order for me to watch it and still get some work done, I have to like watch it in English. But the English dub is kind of like, all right, cool, nostalgic, but I also watch it in Japanese, but I want to like extremely focus. So I'm doing the weird thing of switching back and forth. I'm committing the ultimate anime sin. I'm watching both the dub and the sub
Yeah, see, I'm just
at the
watching
same
the
time.
dub. I'm just watching the dub. The only time I watched the sub was when it came to One Piece fan letter, and you'll get when you get to further on down the line, because I'm not trying to spoil you other than what I already told you. Uh, when you get further into One Piece, let me take a good look here.
Gotcha.
Skypiea, Water 7.
Well, while he's searching, let me just say I love the fact how I would tell him like, hey, what episode I'm on? Because at first I was ahead. And then like I had to take mini breaks because of like work and stuff like that. Life was getting a little bit hectic. And I would call him up, like I'll call him up weekly and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm on this episode. And he'll be like a couple episodes behind me. And I'm just kind of like, oh, he's gonna eventually catch up. And then I remember we didn't have a chance to call each other for like 2 weeks because we were just a little bit busy. And then I called him and we were talking and I was like, hey, Wes, where you at in One Piece? He's like, oh, Skypiea. And I was just like, what?
Okay,
Were you?
so yeah, there. I remember that. I remember that. You're like, hey, what? So what episode are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm on Skypiea. And you're like, Skypiea, and I was like,
Skypiea?
yeah. And you're like, how the heck did you get there so quickly? I was like, I had time to watch One Piece.
I had time.
So I'll let you know as to what episode you should probably start watching Fan Letter.
Okay.
Start watching Fan Letter when you get to around 522.
522.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do my best to like keep that in mind, but 522, which is basically the what you told me earlier was the time skip arc or when time skip happens. So perfecto.
So yeah, but yeah, we're for now we're talking about the East Blue. So
Yeah. That's
yeah,
how we're
we
that's how
get
we're
we get to assemble our crew.
so yeah, that's how we're going to be doing these episodes is we're just going to do them by sagas, which I'm looking right now. I thought there was going to be a lot more because of how many episodes there are, but honestly there's only 11 sagas, which is kind of surprising, but makes
Wait,
sense.
where are you looking at this up from?
The official One Piece wiki.
Oh snap! I totally forgot they had a wiki.
Honestly, they should have like their own website, just not even on Wikipedia, just a One Piece website. Because this is actually like pretty good. It lets you know which episodes are filler, which I've been told that
Mhm.
One Piece is one of the official big threes that
Yeah.
didn't have a lot of filler.
Hmm.
Because I mean, Oda's a freaking beast. Well, from what I've been told, and this is hearsay from a friend of mine who's a huge One Piece fan, Oda kind of has it planned out to where his people, like him, outside of his crew of people who work on One Piece, only one other person knew how One Piece ended, but it was a Make a Wish child who had terminal cancer. So he was a huge One Piece fan. It was like, I just want to know because he unfortunately he knew he was gonna pass soon. He was like, my one wish is to know how One Piece ended. So Oda himself flew to the kid and was like, "Ayo, dog, what's up? Here's the ending." Told him, and the boy like passed away with a smile on his face, and he was the only one outside the crew who knew how One Piece was gonna end. And I'm like, what? That's absolutely crazy.
That is crazy. Not gonna lie.
Like homeboy is just kind of like, I'm taking this to the grave with me.
Literally.
And this was back before they even made it to episode 1000. This was like episode 700. Homeboy knew the entire plot. But that's awesome. But yeah, so I mean, because we know about Oda's. I mean, I'm assuming you've heard about Oda's recent health issues and health scares,
Hmm.
where
Right
he
now
had to take.
we're in the quote unquote final saga of One
Yeah,
Piece. So
this is the final saga. And from what I've been told, Oda kind of has like recently he had to do a 6 month hiatus because of health issues and stuff like that. So like his crew knows how One Piece is gonna end. It's all planned out and stuff like that. So it's kind of crazy how sometime close in the future we're gonna be at the end of One Piece. Like Wesley, before we like get into like the East Blue saga,
mhm.
like One Piece, like subvertently, even though we weren't actively in the community and stuff like that, has just been a part of our like generation. I mean, think about
Yeah,
it.
because like from when we were kids, I only knew about One Piece due to Four Kids, and
Same.
and I'ma sound old. I already sound old talking about it, but back when we had Four Kids, that was back when we actually had Saturday morning cartoons,
Oh my God, yes. I
and
remember Sonic
and
X.
right. I remember when I was younger, my mom would put on the uh One Piece, and well, you should turn on whatever we need to, and then we would watch it. And I remember at one point, I didn't know what One Piece was. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is just some crazy cartoon about a kid who wants to be a pirate king or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. And then there was a moment where it's not like it went in order. It will like be
Yeah.
sporadic at times. And so there was one moment where like this one person turned this dude he turned him from a guy to a girl. And I was like, hey, yo.
Hey, yo.
And I remember my mom walked into the room and she saw this and she goes, And she turned off the TV and she goes, "Yeah, you're no longer allowed to look at this TV show again." And I was like, "But it's about a pirate king."
About a fire king.
And I was like, all right, fine. So then I never watched One Piece other than that episode. And then from that moment on, I just watched TMNT, Sonic X, and then occasionally Naruto whenever it came on.
Yeah, I want to say also one kid had like Shaman King, but that was like after Sonic X. Like I remember my Saturday mornings would be like, I need to watch Sonic X, and then after Sonic X aired, I was like, all right, I'm done. I got my fill. But I think like Shaman King was also on there. Zatch Bell, if
I
you
remember
remember
Zatch
that.
Bell.
Oh my
Man, I remember when
God.
Zatch Bell came out. I was like, yo, this is epic. And then like Shaman King, I heard rumors of like I knew about Shaman King, but it was like, I don't know what the heck this is.
Yeah, I
Like,
didn't like watch it like religiously. It was one of those shows that came on after Sonic X, and I was just kind of like, I don't care. It's not Sonic. It's not Sonic. But so it's funny how you said you saw a man turn someone into a girl. And that was when you had to stop watching it when you first got exposed to One Piece. You wanna know when I stopped watching it? It was very early on, unfortunately, and it's during the arc where we get Usopp onto our team. Is when we're on his island.
when you're in Syrup Village,
Yeah, when we meet the the cat pirates, the
the
black
cat,
cat.
yeah, the Black
And
Cat Pirates.
I was just like, after we got to him, after Captain Kudo, I was just like, I don't know. I subvertently just stopped watching it. And then I kind of got back into it when they got Chopper. Little
Hmm.
did I know, that's like hundreds of episodes after. I'm like, oh my God, because I never thought One Piece would get this long. One Piece and Naruto kind of like, I got into the mindset of those shows around the same time, even though One Piece, I'm pretty sure, started way before Naruto. Like
It
its
did.
first episode aired in 1999.
Hmm.
So,
I
but
was
when I
born in
saw,
'96.
I was born in 97. But like when Naruto started airing and stuff like that, and I started to see how long Naruto was, I was just like, oh my God, this is gonna be so long. And then I saw that One Piece was still airing. I was just like, One Piece is still going? What all did they gotta say?
I think once I got into middle school, I heard I knew about One Piece because, when you go into the library, you can, sometimes find the manga there. And I was
Yeah.
like, all right, cool, that's interesting. And so I read volume one and I was like, oh, all right, cool. Put it back, never touched it again. And then I'm like, get into high school and I hear a whole bunch of stuff about One Piece. I'm like, why does everyone keep talking about One Piece? And
Why does someone talk about it?
what's so big about One Piece? I'm like, One Piece should have been over already.
It should have been.
We still in Naruto. We still got DBZ. We still going through all this stuff. What's so big about One Piece? And I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna touch it. I'm good. And then I hear, hey, yo, like this is after I graduated high school, after
Yeah.
we graduated and everything, get a job, go into an adult life,
Yeah, become adults like we are right now.
go into college. And I'm like, okay, and people are like, hey, yo, did you hear about what's going on in One Piece? I'm like, why is everyone still
Why is
talking about One
it
Piece? And then,
One Piece?
and I remember one of my friends, he was like, it's Chris, he's been on the show before, and
Yeah.
he was like, hey, yo, are you thinking about reading One Piece? And I'm like, dude, just stop talking about. Well, isn't One Piece over? And he was like, what do you mean, is One Piece over? It's still ongoing. And
It never dies.
I'm like, what are you talking about, man? And he goes, yo, did you realize that One Piece just hit its 1,000th chapter? I said, 1,000 chapter?
Like,
And
what the heck, dude?
he was like, oh, I probably shouldn't have told you that. You're probably thinking about reading it, aren't you? I said, I mean, maybe, but maybe I should go into the anime. He goes, oh, well, if that's the case, it's about to reach its 1,000th episode. I said, no,
No.
why?
Let me.
I was like, should I even watch One Piece? And this at this point in time, it was like I want to say around like 2021, 2022. And
Yeah.
I was like, should I even watch One Piece? He was like, if you do, just skip to this. He was like, just skip to this arc. And I was like, I want to see how they get there though. And he's like, you don't need to see it. Just skip to this arc. You'll be good. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna just ease my way into One Piece. Like,
It's really interesting because I've been told by like my guru friend that I've told you about, my anime guru, because he's watched One Piece like 3 times over and stuff like that. And
mhm.
he said, yeah, the creators know that One Piece is a little bit intimidating to get into. Like they've actually like have made like stories or kind of like movies, and even fan people have made like whole saga arcs or like hour-long episodes of
Yeah,
clipping the best parts or like the parts of early sagas just to make more sense to newcomers coming in.
yeah.
Because
They called it
I
One
mean,
Piece.
yeah, or like they're making, even like the creators now, they're making the One Piece, and it's just basically adapting One Piece into modern shonen stuff, because it's just kind of like, yeah, getting into One Piece now, if you want to go back and watch the original episodes, it's going to be pretty hard. So let's do it in like modern shonen like era, where we kind of go through a lot of time in shorter amount of like episodes.
Episodes.
So I
Yeah.
guess, yeah, think of like My Hero Academia and stuff like that. The
I
pacing of
mean,
My Hero
but
Academia is a little bit better now than like, back then shonen stuff where we only have think of DBZ, 5 episodes of one fight.
oh my gosh, but that
But you
fight
know
was
what?
so
I see
spectacular. But
I
like, I mean, did you hear about what Wit Studios is doing?
I have not.
Wit
Tell
Studios
me.
is making is remaking One Piece without the filler,
Interesting.
without the filler.
Makes sense. You know what?
And
I
apparently the live action of One Piece is getting a season 2.
I saw that and I'm excited. I have not seen live action One Piece yet, but I'm maybe thinking about doing it once I get a couple of like sagas into One Piece, and I'm going to be like, all right, let me watch live action because I've heard it's surprisingly good.
I heard
Like
it was
I was
really good.
afraid, yeah, I was afraid that it was going to be bad because live action anime can be a little bit
For we
eh.
with our past showings of live action being Death Note, Cowboy Bebop.
Now with Death Note, I know they did it like twice, but with like the American version one,
hmm
a lot of people, it was a bit controversial with how they did some
Full Metal
characters.
Alchemist.
Full Metal Alchemist, Tokyo Ghoul.
Oh, they did try to do a live
What do
action
you mean
version
by
of Tokyo.
tried? I got the Blu-ray DVD. I've never
Oh,
watched it.
never mind. So they did it. Okay. I
I
almost thought it
I
was a
I
rumor.
physically have it. One day I'm going to show it on the show. But like I physically have it. I've never watched it. I've never watched it because I don't know. I can't bring myself to do it.
All right. So
All right.
let's actually
So
get into this.
let's get into it. We talked about our history with One Piece, but now let's actually get into the One Piece. So let's just let's do an overall thing before we kind of get into specifics with the East Blue Saga.
You want to talk about
So
how many episodes that is? Or I
well,
mean,
okay.
for most, okay, let me say, whenever I sit there and say, do you want to talk, when we ask from episode to episode, because I'm
Mm,
mainly talking about for people who are like us who are just now getting into One Piece,
yeah,
not for everyone who has watched One Piece. Everyone who has watched One Piece is like, dude, we already know that's from like episode 1 to episode 61. What are you
yeah,
talking about? So for
yeah,
everyone who doesn't know, who hasn't watched One Piece, it's from episode 1 to episode 61.
yeah. And I have to say, so like overall, I
Mhm.
have to say this is pretty good. There were some parts where I was just kind of like, all right. And mainly, unfortunately, that is when it comes to the Warship Island arc. Well, I kind of weaned myself off of it. But other than that, like I have to say, this first saga, going through it, for me, it was mostly nostalgic because I've watched a lot of these episodes when I was a lot younger, but through 4 Kids dub. If anybody knows about the 4 Kids dub and how they did things, it was let's just say pretty interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. Let's keep it
You
like that.
you didn't get stabbed. They weren't holding guns, they were holding pop guns. Sanji didn't smoke a cigarette. He constantly had a lollipop in his mouth. It was that kind of fun. But I mean, other than that, actually going through learning the story and getting more of like the background stuff to hopefully like I've been told a lot of things do come back in later episodes
A
where
lot
I'm
of
just kind of
characters come back in
a
later
lot of characters,
episodes.
you think Buggy the Pirate's gonna be a one-time thing? Nah, bud. He's still showing up in modern One Piece.
Buggy's still around.
Oh, and you know what? I have been spoiled of one thing, and I think I can say this. It's fine. I've seen Kobe's glow up because he joins the Marines and stuff like that. That's the one thing he wanted to do, even though him and Luffy are on opposite sides. Luffy wants to become a pirate and sail the seven seas. Well, this is more than seven seas, but sail the seas and find the One Piece. Kobe just wants to join the Marines. He feels like that's a very honorable thing to do,
My
and he
boy
joins it.
Kobe, my boy.
Kobe, my boy, like that boy, man. I felt for him because when I first thought he wasn't going to be able to like join because he was associated with a pirate, they're
With
like, nah,
Alvida,
dog.
yeah.
He was like, nah, remember? You were captured and stuff like that. And Luffy purposely baited to where they're like, I'm going to make them come after me so you can follow your dreams. That's Luffy's whole thing. He doesn't care if you're going on to the enemy side. You're following your dreams no matter what. And I'm like, Luffy, that's freaking amazing.
I like the one thing that Luffy had told Kobe was he was like, I'm going to become king of the pirates. He said, if I die for that dream, then that's all that matters. He said,
Yeah.
I don't care. And I was like, okay, cool. And then when Kobe asked him, he's like, do you think I can be, do you think I can join the Marines? And Luffy's like, the Marines? He was like, yeah, it's been my dream to catch bad guys. And I'm like, all right, Kobe, all right,
All
cool.
right.
And when Luffy was like, you're willing to die for it, go ahead. And
Go
I was like,
ahead.
okay, cool. And
Go for it, my dude.
I like how that friendship started.
Yeah.
And even when it came to Alvida, and
Uh,
when Alvida comes face to face with Luffy, and she's like, who's beautiful in all the land, and Luffy's just like, hey yo, Kobe, who's this old hag over here? I'm like,
who's the
oh.
hippo? I was like, oh god.
I'm just
Oh
like,
man.
Luffy, calm it down.
But no, like I don't know if you've seen it yet or if you've gone to that part of the in One Piece, but like have you seen Kobe's like
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
post time skip? That man
Hmm.
is freaking ripped.
Dang, there's a lot I can't get into.
I know because we're
um,
only at the beginning. I understand.
Um, but it's interesting for Kobe later on. It's interesting
I can't wait to see. I'm
for
like
what
super
Kobe has in
excited.
store. And for Help Uppo. Like, yo, like I didn't even think the fact that those two were gonna become friends. And because we get Axe Hand Morgan,
Oh my
like,
god. What?
yeah,
Axe Hand Morgan actually comes back?
no, like in the since we're in the East Blue,
Oh,
when
in
we
East Blue.
get
Yeah, yeah,
to the town and where it's housing Zoro, if we
yeah.
get mentioned, because remember, everyone's freaking scared
Yeah.
because they're like, oh, they're not scared of pirates, they're scared of Axe Hand Morgan. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why? Why are you so scared of this dude? I was like, is it because he has an axe for a hand? I was like, that must make it tough to eat things. And I'm like, oh, okay. But it was weird because it's like Axan Morgan did things in a way that no one else did. He ruled more as a dictator, if anything else.
Oh, he did, yeah.
And he was like, oh, like when it came to when they housed Zoro, and Zoro was like, oh yeah, they're gonna let me free. They're gonna let me free
Yeah.
in a couple of days. And when Helmeppa was like, yeah, no, we're gonna kill you like in a day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's kind of messed up. And then when the little girl comes running up to, when she made her little rice balls for Zoro, and you know, and she tries to feed it to her, well, tries to feed, Zoro and everything, and Helpeppo comes over and just stomps on the. I was like,
Yeah.
dude. And then and then when Axan Morgan said, kill the girl. I was like, oh, you're gonna shoot the girl?
Like
Like,
I
no.
honestly that entire I because it's really interesting when this world tried to establish that a lot of people see pirates as bad guys, and throughout media and all of us we were just like, all right, pirates are bad guys and stuff like that. And you would think the Marines would be honorable. No, we see that honestly the Marines are kind of dicks, honestly. They're really mean. The way some of them, because we do see some honorable and good Marine people. Like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously Kobe, he's
Mm-hmm.
he's going to become a good guy. when we get to Logtown,
Yep.
when we meet the guy with the smoke, I can't remember his name right now.
Smoker.
Is his name just Smoker? I feel like it's something better than
Are you
that.
talking about the one that has the two cigars coming out of his mouth? That's Smoker.
Is his name really just wow? Okay, because I
Okay,
can't find
so
it.
it's Marine. Okay, so he's a Marine captain. He's Vice
Yeah,
Admiral Smoker, and his sergeant, and the person who's always next to him
yeah.
is Sergeant Major Tashigi. The more I keep thinking about it, I'm like, this has to be a joke. To be a joke because it's literally Kawina who was the chick who fought Zoro a bunch of times when they were kids,
Oh my God! Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
Tashigi is literally she has the same voice and looks exactly like Kawina. And I'm like,
yeah.
is Tashigi just Kawina just reincarnated?
That's every time I saw that, I was like, no, it's so crazy. It's so crazy to me. And I just, oh man, the way she just did that 180 flip when she found out who Zoro was, like that killed me on the inside. I was like, no, 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 no.
I
Why
kind
are
of
you
felt
being so mean
I felt
to
bad
him?
for Zoro because Zoro was like, "Look, you look exactly like a friend that I knew. You
Yeah,
sound like her."
you
And
do.
I just like how Tashigi was like, "Well, I'm sorry that I sound and look like your dead ex." And I was like, "Whoa!"
Look, when she said that, oh, it's a secret. Wait, 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 wait. You do not know. You do not know the context. My girl died by stairs.
Down these stairs.
That that killed me on the inside. Freaking Zoro's backstory. Like I watched, I was like, this is epic as mess. And everyone's just kind of like, yeah, she can't become the best swordsman because she's a woman. I was like, that's so messed up. And on her way to becoming the best, she freaking died by stairs. I was like, what? And like, yeah, she died by falling down the stairs. How many stairs did she fall down? She died by stairs. How does just one die by stairs?
By falling down the stairs. I mean, it's real common actually.
Listen, this isn't another where there's an umbrella at the bottom of the staircase. No,
I knew for a fact that
you you knew I was going
you did
there.
not have to do that. You did not
You
have to
knew I
bring up
was going.
another.
I had to bring up another because my God, some of them deaths. Homeboy walking through the forest, lightning strikes him.
Like out of nowhere.
It's just boo.
But we're not here to talk about another. Get back onto One Piece. Get back on the
Get back on the boat.
boat.
But no, I was just like, man, Zoro's backstory is so messed up. And then we see Nami's backstory with Bellamere. Oh my, I've
Yo,
never.
the fact the first time we actually see Nami
Oh,
is actually in the first episode.
yeah,
And it's funny because it's when Alvida and her whole pirates are trying to get onto this other ship, and
yeah.
Nami's just there, and I was like, "Hey, yo, who the heck are you?" And I'm like, Nami, what the frick you doing? She's like, "Yep, I'm making out like a bandit thief. I'm out of here." And I was like, "Oh, snap, okay." And it's funny the fact that Nami sits here and allies herself with different pirates just to get to where she needs to be.
But then, like, when we find out, like, her backstory and her whole reasoning as to why, whenever she said, I hate pirates, I never want to be with pirates, then it comes the plot twist of she's with Arlong's group, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not because she wanted to be, is so that she could buy off her island. Dude, the Arlong Park arc freaking killed me. Oh, that was heartbreaking. It hurts every time I think about it. I'm just like, man,
I think
because
before we get to Arlong, we
yeah,
gotta talk about. We already talked about Zoro. We should probably
yeah.
talk about Usopp since we
Oh
kind of
yeah. Let's go
we
to
kind of
Usopp.
bypassed Syrup Village.
Sorry, yeah, because
Um,
I mean the only thing we said about it was the fact that I remembered Captain Kudo. So yeah, we need to go back to Syrup Village.
yeah, Usopp, the notorious liar Usopp. Like, golly, when I heard about Usopp, going into One Piece, and I was like, okay, he's just a sniper. Okay, that's okay. And I was like, okay, his weapon of choice is a slingshot. It's an interesting weapon of choice. I thought you were going to use a gun, but okay. But like when you see Usopp, and the more he keeps running around yelling, "Pirates! Pirates are attacking! We're gonna get attacked by pirates!" And
Yeah,
then I instantly drew a line, and it was basically connecting to the boy who cried wolf.
yeah.
And I
That's
was like,
basically who Usopp is.
oh, I was like, I get it now. I was like, because almost everyone in Syrup Village, they instantly lock their door. They don't come out. They don't listen to Usopp. They're like, he's just joking around.
Yeah.
We're kind of sick of this at this point. And then when the Black Cat pirates actually show up, and then he's like, "Hey, yo, there's
yeah.
actually pirates here." They're like, "Yep, stop joking around, Usopp. We're kind of sick of this at this point." He's like, "No, I'm not joking. There are actually pirates here." And they're like, "Ha ha, very funny. You're always such
But
a kidder." And
but
I'm
you want to
like,
know what's funny? He said if they don't believe me, I'm gonna make sure that pirates never come to the island. And he did
mm-hmm,
his best.
mm-hmm.
He really did. He made sure that they didn't come to the island. And I was just like, Usopp, that's freaking amazing. Because you have to keep in mind, Usopp is the same age as Luffy. Like when it comes to the actual
Yeah.
like Straw Hats.
Everyone on the Straw Hat crew is 17 years old.
I think from what I was told, I think technically like at this point,
Around the age of 17.
yeah, I want to say at this point, the oldest one out of the members that we have when it comes to the East Blue Saga is Zoro, and he's technically 18, 19, I
Yeah,
think.
like I said, around
Yeah, around. He's the oldest. And Luffy and Usopp are both like the same age. I want to say they're only 16 at this point. So,
17.
yeah,
17.
17, 16, 17.
17. When Luffy, okay, since I'm further than you.
Oh,
Oh god.
okay.
So
Well, dang.
since so
Show
since
off
I'm
your superiority. It's fine.
since I'm further than you, when Luffy leaves the village that he's in,
Yeah.
he is 17 years old.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say. I can't say anymore.
Understandable.
The moment I literally have to cut myself off because I was about to say something and I was like, no,
No,
we
I
aren't there yet.
understand. But no, but like, I mean, it makes sense. You have to think they're all technically like still kids. None of them are truly adults by the end of the East Blue Saga. Because I want to even say Sanji is younger than Zoro by like a year, which is crazy to me. Like Zoro's the oldest and he's not even an adult. Well, in the eyes of the law, he's above 18 years old, so technically he's considered an adult. But my man looks like he's like 25, and he's just like, nah, I'm 19. Dog, get out of here. What do you mean you're 19?
Hey yo,
Freaking
but
pulling off Ichigo levels of like, this boy's only 16 years old. What do you mean?
hey, he uses those three swords really well.
Oh yeah, I loved it when like when uh when Luffy was breaking them out and he was like, "Hey, which one of these swords are his?" And freaking the guy is just like knocked out, he can't say anything. And so Luffy's just like, "Hey, I didn't know which one of these are yours, so I brought all of them." He's like, "Don't worry, they're all mine." Luffy's like, "What?" Three swords?
And then when he takes all three and he goes three sword style, I was like, oh, I didn't know you can use three swords. And I was like,
So
okay, cool. And
so
he
let
was
me
like, yeah, I liked how he said Zoro said that his dream is to become the world's greatest swordsman. And I was like,
yes.
okay, that's a dream I can get behind. I was like, now you got to defeat the person who's up top. But
Yeah,
little
okay,
did I know
so
that it was Mihawk, and I was like, oh,
yeah, so we'll talk about Mihawk here in a little bit. I guess to finish up with the what was it, the Syrup Village arc
Syrup
and stuff
Village
like
with
that.
the Black Cat pirates. Koro was
Yeah,
crazy though.
that was crazy because let me tell you, that was like that was my childhood. I remembered him, and you want to know why I remembered him so vividly? It's because it's the stupid way he pushes up his glasses with his freaking the palm of his hand. I don't know why. Anime has taught me like a bunch of different things. Tokyo Ghoul has taught us how to snap like cracker fingers with just like the thumb and stuff like that. We got that because of anime. We have a bunch of kids doing the Naruto hand signs because of anime. You know what I adopted from anime? Pushing up my freaking glasses with the palm of my hand because of Captain Kuro.
Now then the fact that like, because Koro, his plan lasted a long time.
It did.
He was like, I'm in the long con for this. And I was like, oh, because he started off as Kaya's butler.
Yes.
and I was like, "There's something off about you." I don't
Well,
know, like
technically,
when I was watching this, I was like, "There's something off about you." I don't know what it is, but I know there's something off about you. And even when Usopp was like, "There's something off about Koro,"
yeah,
I was like, "Yeah, I'm with Usopp on this one. There's something off with him." And
there
then
is.
when it finally, and then when Kaya went running, and he was like, "Oh well, I already got a man on the job to come and find her and take her out." I was like, "Oh, you're a
Like,
pirate." I
oh
was like, "Oh,
no. So when he was breaking his mask, when it came to the butler, the sheep butler, like when he was because the sheep butler was just like, oh yeah, Mistress Kaya got you a present. It was the glasses. He was like, yeah. She always noticed that you pushed up yours, so she thought that was ill fitting. And then Captain Kuro goes off on his huge like tangent. And then he freaking attacks the butler, and he's just like, "The time is nigh, and it's time to do it." And I'm like, "Dog, chill.
He's
You
like,
need to calm down."
Koro said, I'm literally just here to take her out and take all of her money. And I was like, dang. And then the fact that all of his crew showed up and they're like, Captain Koro. He's like, stop calling me that. Stop calling me that. I am no longer your captain. And I was like, but that's your crew. And then he was like, yeah, you're no longer my crew anymore. He just starts taking out his own people. I was like, you're kind of messed up, dude.
Dude,
Like,
homeboy is freaking like sick in the head. Well, no, okay, so the other interesting part about Captain Kuro was when he did his ultimate move where, he would shimmy
yeah.
back and forth. And everyone's just like, oh no, not this move. He moves so fast, he doesn't even, like, he can't even see where he's going. I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
I'm like,
And,
my dude's moving at supersonic speed to the point where he doesn't even know where he's going. I'm like, so what? Is he just gonna hit something and then just ricochet off of it? And I was like, how is that supposed to work?
like, that was what he was doing. And it was so stupid, just a shh. And you just hear his captain, like his crew in the background going, no, Captain Kuro, don't do it. No, anything but that. And like, not Usopp, well, like, Luffy was just like, what the heck is going on? What is he doing? And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh no.
Like, jeez.
But I guess to continue off of that,
Kaya
because
gives them the going Mary. Because
yes,
we gotta state that Kaya gives them the going Mary, the glowing Mary, the
the
glowing
glowing
Mary.
Mary. So really fun fact. So all the lies and stories that Usopp was telling Kaya, apparently this is why some people call him a freaking god in One Piece, is because all the lies that he was telling actually eventually come true throughout One Piece.
Well, ain't that interesting? Well, because I do remember him saying, he said, even though he said, I'm leaving, he is like, but guess what? He is like, once I come back, when I come back here, I'll tell you even more I'll tell you more stories that make my old ones seem like lies. And I was like, okay, cool. And so there are times in his journey, he's gonna be like, hey, I've handled this. I've seen this 1,000 times, and I'm like, my dude, what are you talking about? This is your first time seeing something like this.
Because I found it interesting because when my friend was telling me this, he was like, yeah, all the stories that you hear him saying right now, those actually all come true. So now I'm kind of curious about because the one of the stories that I physically remember is when he's telling Kaya, yeah, we ran into this goldfish. It was like the biggest goldfish you've
Yeah,
ever seen,
yeah.
and its poops are the size of islands. And I'm like, how does this after hearing like that actually comes true? I'm just like, how? How does this play out?
I'm like, okay. And then when Usopp keeps saying, I have a legion of 10,000 men, and I'm like, Usopp, it's just you. I'm like,
Oh,
Usopp,
but
I'm like, at first, I'm like, Usopp, it's just you. But now hearing that, hey, yo, all the stuff that he's been saying is eventually going to come to pass, I'm like, you mean to tell me Usopp is clearly going to have a legion of almost 10,000 people
I've
following
been
him?
told he
And
becomes God.
I'm like, well, I mean, even on the shirt, it says God Usopp. And I'm like, okay, I have a feeling I know where this is going to go.
He's gonna create a cult, man. I'm telling you. Like honestly, I'm super excited. Like the more and more I see about this, I'm very excited to see how One Piece goes. I guess to kind of like because we are coming close to end of time of our episode.
All
I
right,
guess
one
kind of
the
the
Bartier
Bora
the
the
Bartier
Borati,
the
yeah.
Bartier
Oh,
was
sorry,
Sanji
the
and
Bartier.
yeah. We'll
That
get
whole arc was insane because there were so many fights within that one because we had what's his face? I can't remember Jin. The freaking we have Jin.
Mhm.
I feel bad for Jin.
Are you
Then
talking about
Don
Don? Are you talking about Don Cree?
well, I'm talking about Donkey, Krieg, and Jin because
Yeah.
Jin, he was just like because at first I really wanted to believe that he was just some man who was down on his luck, and we see like a soft side of Sanji where he's just like food should never go to waste, and I'm just like interesting, especially after we seen Sanji's backstory. Makes
Hmm.
sense as to why he's just like food should never go to waste.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that killed me inside. But then he was just like, I'm going to help out Jin because one, he's just a man that's down on his luck. And I was severely hoping that was the case, where it's just like, let's just help out this man, out of good consciousness, right? Nope. Then we find out he's with Don Krieg. And then we find out all about Don Krieg's thing and stuff like that. I was like, why are you so freaking mean, dude? And then, Chef Zeph, I
Chef
was like,
Zeph.
oh,
The backstory with
oh,
Chef Zeph and Sanji was
that like I
like
said, that killed me because Sanji was just
he
like, "You have this
gave
whole bag
he
of
gave all
food."
of his he gave all of his food to
Yeah,
Sanji, and then when Sanji came back and he was like, "You still have all this food?" And turns out it's literally just the treasure.
it's just
And
a treasure, and Zeph ate his own leg just so that he would survive. I was like, "Whoa!"
because
First off,
even because when he saved Sanji, he literally took, since his foot was being crushed by the freaking boat to get like by the pressure of the waves in the boat,
yeah,
he took the anchor, wrapped it around his leg, and then just tore it off. I was like, oh, that has to hurt. And then
dog.
when Sanji's like, you ate your own leg, and I'm like, oh, so he took his leg. I was like, okay, so he probably took his leg from that wreckage and then ended up eating it. No, I was like,
Like,
okay,
dog,
okay.
that's freaking crazy. I was like, "Oh no!"
But
But
then
then,
we get Sanji, because everyone at the bar TA is telling Sanji, "Hey, yo, live your dream, go see the All Blue. You're too good for us. You're too good for us."
yeah,
And then
you
he
have to go.
he finally tells Luffy, "Hey, I want to be your cook." Also, the voice actor for Sanji is also the voice actor for Trunks.
Oh, nice.
In the dub, mind you.
This brings me back to the voice actor of Alma is also the voice actor of Vegeta.
And the voice actor for All Might and Vegeta is also Zoro. It's literally Chris Sabat's
Oh
regular
my
voice.
god! Dang it! No, I can see it.
Why do you think I've been telling you? I've been watching the dub.
Every time now I see Zoro, I'm just gonna see All Might's face.
But he tells Luffy that he wants to be his cook for the ship, and then we finally get our cook, and then we get to Arlong.
We get to Arlong because in the middle of everything that's happening during Bartier, Nami steals.
Nami steals the Going Merry
She steals a
and
Going Merry.
goes back to I forget the name.
Arlong,
What was the name of her village? It was something. But we go Kokoyashi
Kokoyashi
Village. Yeah,
village.
that was it. Thank you.
I was looking too, because man, let me tell you, I was like, I don't know.
But yeah, we go
And
back
then
to
we find out Nami is a part of Arlong's crew.
and she's been a part of Arlong's crew for so long, and I'm just like, dang. And the fact that like when she was telling our crew, like, hey, yo, y'all need to go, y'all don't need to be here, and just leave. And then when the Marines show up
And we
and
find
take
out
all
that
her money,
the
take
Marines
all
are
her money, and
working
then
alongside the pirates,
mhm,
and you're just like, what in the world is going on? It's like the Marines are just corrupt.
and you're just like, what the heck is going on? And then she runs over to Arlong and she's like, "Yo, what the heck? You said you would, that you would set everyone, you would let me buy the village." And he was like, "With what money?"
Well, yeah,
And
because
then And then I'm like, Arlong, you piece of crap, like.
Because he was like, yeah, I'm a man of my word. She can buy it off and stuff like that. And everyone's just like, it's gonna be so sad to see her, see her gone and stuff like that. And he was just like, oh, I didn't say I was taking the money. He's like,
Right.
yeah, she can buy off the island as long as she has the money. And he was just like, well, to solve this problem, she can't have the money. But I'm not the one that's taking it.
And then
I did nothing wrong. You simply just don't got the money, so you can't leave our crew.
he's like, well, it looks like you're gonna have to continue to work for me for the rest of your life. And I was like, dang. And I like the fact that like all of Kokoyashi Village is like, yo, Nami, it's all right. You don't have to do this. You've been carrying this weight on your back the entire time, and we get it. And then I was like, okay, okay. And then I like how she tells Luffy, help me.
Yeah,
And
like
Luffy, all he does, he's like, all right, cool.
because
Take
he
the
stood
straw
back
hat.
because he was like, I'm not going to do anything unless because this is Nami wants to do this. And then
Mm-hmm.
once she finally asked, everybody got serious. We see Zoro get serious. We
We
get
see the
Sanji.
gang pull up.
The group's all here. I was just like, dang, this is epic because everyone's just like, all right, it's time to help Nami. Because you would think like, why isn't like why isn't Luffy doing anything? He's just sitting back. He's watching things go down. He sees all that's happening, and still Nami's just like, this isn't your fight. I was like,
Right.
okay, dang. But then when she finally asked for it, I was just like, let's freaking go.
Jeez. And then we get to fight Arlong. We beat the crap out of him. And then Zoro is still critically. Oh, that's right, because
Yeah.
we actually get to meet Mihawk for the first time at
We
the Bartier.
Yeah, at
And
Bartier, because that's one thing I was gonna
um
say is
Zoro
Zoro.
challenges Mihawk to a fight, and Mihawk literally takes out a butter knife and he says, "Oh, sorry, this is the smallest knife. This is the smallest sword I have." And I'm
This
like,
is,
"You're gonna fight me with the butter knife?
but
Okay."
then we
And
see how good Mihawk actually is, and we're just like, oh no.
and I like how Zoro literally, even though he lost the fight and he has this huge gash across his freaking chest, and he's like, "Hey, yo, I'm never gonna lose again. Is that all right, King of the Pirates?" Talking to Luffy, and I'm like, "All right, cool." And
From this day going forward, you will never lose a fight ever again. And I'm like,
mhm.
that's how my boy becomes the freaking best.
And then after that, we get Smoker Tashigi when we get to Logtown.
We get to Logtown, which, okay, so let me just say, because there are two filler episodes in here, and they killed me on the inside. It was Daddy the Father. Oh, that killed me.
I mean,
Because apparently,
like I okay. So one, I know that it's filler, but
yeah,
apparently the Oda liked it so much that he actually put it into the manga. Apparently,
it was after the fact, yeah.
yeah. And but I thought it's still. I get it's filler, but I still see it as character development for Usopp.
Yes, I understand that. But I mean, they just could come up with a better name for the bounty hunter. They called him Daddy the Father. That's the part that kills me. I'm just like, ah. That's the thing. It's just the name. Like I get it. I understand. It's really good character development for Usopp, and it's to really show that he has the best sharpshooter skills.
Mm-hmm.
Because the daddy was just like, I can't kill him because he hit the target. Because Usopp was like, I didn't hit the target. He didn't hit it. He's like, no, you hit it. You took off like a part of it, like from the very like small tiny point of the freaking weather vane. I was just
Yeah,
like, dang, Usopp, from freaking miles away. That's freaking insane, dog.
with a slingshot, no less.
With a slingshot. He said, choose your weapon of choice. Picks up slingshot. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
yep, let's freaking go. Also in Logtown, is it Logtown? Yeah, we see the
Yeah,
arrival of
because
Elvita, but
yeah,
Elvita has significantly changed.
she ate what was it, the slick fruit or the slim
Yeah,
slick fruit or
the
something like
slick
that.
slick fruit. So because her body is no longer friction, and I was just like, what?
And then that's where we also get introduced to Smoker. and Tashigi, because Logtown is where Goldie Roger got executed.
Yep.
And it was interesting seeing Smoker's backstory, but then lightning hits the scaffolding, and you just hear Luffy go, he just yells out to his crew, and he goes, "I'm dead."
Yep. And he said it with a smile on his face. And the Smoker was just like, that man is going to become king of the pirates
And then we
because
also
he stood up there.
we get an interesting look at a dude who stopped Smoker.
Oh, yeah. So, like, this is interesting. And then, you know, the next arc, unfortunately, is Warship Island, which is mostly filler. The only part that's, like, not filler is when they finally get to the Grand Line and go up the mountain.
Up Reverse Mountain. Yeah.
Up, yeah. So yeah, I mean, we get to Worship Island. Unfortunately, Worship Island is mostly filler. I mean, according to the wiki, it's half filler, which I just find interesting to say. But so the reason why the history behind this arc is because apparently the Grand Line was supposed to be the final episode for the original final episode for the anime. But you know, Oda realized a lot of people really, really liked because you know this was supposed to be all season one, and then the Grand Line or Alabasta arc was supposed to be the final arc of One Piece originally.
Oh, okay.
But you know, after seeing the feedback and everybody liking it so much, Oda realized he had more story to say. So he's like, "All right, guys, don't worry, we're continuing on," and that's why we're at like thousands of episodes now. But yeah, and so the Millennial Dragon, like I'll be quite honest, I tried my best.
Grandpa Ryu.
Grandpa Ryu.
And
Like
Appies.
Appies. I tried so hard to get through this arc. I don't know why. Like I loved everything before this. I don't know why just this particular arc kind of came to a screeching halt for me when it came to excitement. And it was really hard for me to get through this arc. And it was only like a few episodes.
Yeah.
I think the last episode I watched before I could just kind of skipped to episode 61 was the fight between Zoro and Eric. I got to that fight. And then I just kind of like, meh, I tried my best. I skipped through it and then I went to episode 61. Now, I should also say this right now. I see on the wiki there are featurettes and there are movies.
Yeah. I have not watched any of the movies.
I have not watched any of the movies. I'm watching specifically just the episodes. I'm probably after if I get through all the episodes, I'll go back and watch the movies because, in all honesty, without this wiki, I wouldn't know the true order of the movies and where they land.
See, I don't have the wiki. I've just been watching it, and so
No, same.
Because originally I started on Hulu, and then I went to Netflix because Hulu started being weird. But there are times where like I'm watching this, and they'll be like, "In promotion for a movie," and I'm like, "So this is in for a movie?" I'm like, "Oh,
in for a movie?"
Okay. I'm like, "Okay, cool, I guess." And I'm like, "I won't watch it until I finish." I'm like, because part of me is like, I mean, I like, don't get me wrong, I like it, but then part of me is like, I kind of want to continue on the path of where I am now, and then hopefully go back and watch some of the films.
Yeah.
So
you wanna know when the first movie technically aired, and I guess is like not a part of the timeline, but the first movie it came out after episode 16. Protect Kaya, Usopp's pirate gang takes action.
There was a movie after that.
Yeah, it's called One Piece, the movie. Oh. And from the synopsis of this is the Straw Hats embark on a treasure hunt for the legendary pirate Wu Nan's gold, but a rival pirate crew led by the fearsome El Drago is also hunting for it. Like that, this movie came out after episode 16. So it's not even the completion of Syrup Village arc. It's literally towards the last two episodes. That's when this movie comes out.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm just kind of like, I'll just watch the movies after, because I've even been told like the movies I think are mostly just filler, and they really don't take place canon. Like, yeah, you'll see characters and stuff like that, but like, I mean, other than that, there's just no canonicity to it. I'm like, okay.
Oh, just you wait. Just you wait. There are going to be a lot more characters we get into in Alabasta.
I can't wait. I'm super excited. So I guess, that's the end of the Blue Saga arc. We're
East Blue.
now getting, oh, I say Blue Saga,
You
East
just said,
Blue.
yeah. This is the end of the Blue Saga. Blue Saga. We just went to the all blue all of a sudden? No,
East Blue Saga. But like I said, I'm super excited. After finishing this first saga, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna watch this. And maybe at some point after watching this, I can get into the other of the big three. Maybe eventually I'll watch Naruto. And I've always been kind of interested in watching Bleach.
hmm
So, maybe this will be my like kickstart into watching the longer
I
animes.
like how this is gonna be your kickstart into watching the longer anime when you're watching something that has, well, technically we are watching something that has 1,000 episodes.
Yes. Well, I mean, because I've always told myself I'll never watch it because there's too many episodes. But
Yeah,
now that
didn't you
I'm
say the
watching,
same thing about DBZ? Didn't you say the same thing about Naruto?
listen.
This is coming from a guy who's watched all of Naruto, who's
Yeah.
watched not only all of Naruto, I've watched all of Naruto plus the movies.
No, I understand.
And
But what?
then and then coming from a dude who's also watched all of Dragon Ball and is in Super right now, reading the manga for Super. I know I'm going on a rant here, but I'm still in the middle of watching Daima. I need to get caught up in watching Daima because Daima's going crazy right now. But yeah.
So hold on. All right. So let's get this straight.
Get what straight.
Naruto only
Uh-huh.
has like, okay, so according to Google, the original Naruto anime only has 220 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
One Piece, okay, so I can understand.
Uh-huh.
And you know what? If it's one of those things where
You're doing this in the reverse, buddy. You should have went with Naruto first and then went to One Piece.
Naruto Shippuden only has 500 episodes in it and is set 2.5 years after the original. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
in total, there's like 720 episodes
So you'd be
of
able to get through 720 episodes easy.
Buddy, I'm only in episode 64 of One Piece, and I've been watching it for like 3 months
Compared to me being on episode 500.
compared to you being at episode 500. But yeah, so I mean, it's one of those things where if I can watch One Piece, I can watch Naruto and I can watch Bleach. I'll be quite honest, DBZ is a little bit of a pipe dream for me, only because there are so many iterations of DBZ. But this is a conversation for another day. I'm not making the promise now, but maybe one day I will watch all of one of the iterations of DBZ.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not making this promise now. I
Uh-huh.
am committing
No, I
myself.
know. I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying uh-huh because you know, why do you think your boy's here? I sat here and told you almost everything from the freaking World Martial Arts tournament that you were like, we never got to see Goku and Chi Chi get married. I told you all about that, all the way up to to the Boo saga and everything else in between. And
See, I don't need to watch DBZ. You're my Dragon Ball repository. I just need to come to you for answers. Be like, hey, who's this guy? And you're like, oh, it's such and such. I'm like, why is there a purple cat? Oh, you're talking about Beerus.
I remember you were like, why is his name Bills? And I'm like, his name's Beerus, not Bills. We're gonna get out of here.
Yeah.
But one last thing that I would probably like to say, aside from the usual like, comment, and subscribe, I'm usually doing this stuff. If you like the way we're doing this through sagas, then let us know in the comments down below. If you want to continue to see us do more of this, it would be more in the way of me having to talk to Ka'shenia about, hey, where are you in
Yeah.
One Piece? Instead of
Where
her
are
being like,
you?
instead of her asking me, hey, where are you? Because like we've already stated, I am like further ahead in One Piece
Much further ahead,
than
yeah.
Kashina is. So if you want to see us do more of this, please let us know. The next arc that we will be tackling is the Alabasta arc or the Baroque Works arc. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see how Alabaster will go. I'm looking through the wiki now. I see with Alabaster, I've already finished the Reverse Mountain arc, which was just 2 episodes, and now I'll be getting into Whiskey Peak.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. I can't wait to see this. I can't wait to talk more about it and learn more about the wonderful world that is the One Piece. So yeah, and maybe eventually maybe I'll watch the One Piece live action and see how that goes. Because seeing as how it basically covers the beginning half of the East Blue, I'm like, all right, interesting. Let's see. And I've heard it's good, so I'll probably watch it.
And if you guys want us to do or want me to do gameplay of One Piece, let me know what game I should do. I know there's World Seeker. I know there's the Dynasty Warriors for Pirate Warriors 4 of One Piece. So just let me know in the comments down below and I
There's
will try my
one
best to
there's
make that happen.
there's a One Piece Odyssey. I've
Yeah.
seen gameplay of it. I kind of want to play it because it looks pretty cool.
Let me know in the comments down below. With that being said, we are going to get out of here.
We hope you enjoyed your visit to
The Underground Geek Shack.
Geek Shack. See you
See you
guys.
guys.